Cool. Amazing. So, welcome back, everyone. So, today we have Claire from Therapy Focus joining us. Claire, if you want to give us a little bit of an introduction about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Claire Breen. I'm a dietitian and clinical lead of dietetics at Therapy Focus. So Therapy Focus is an organization that provides therapy services primarily to people with a disability. We're based here in Western Australia and have transdisciplinary teams that include dietitians spread out over Perth. And we have some teams in some regional areas of WA as well. Luckily, as a dietitian, our work is very conversational, so we do get to work over Teams and other video platforms as well. So that's really a great opportunity to provide services in other parts of Australia as well. But as a dietitian, my role is to assess and support clients with a wide range of issues related to nutrition and meal times. These can include things like eating a limited range of foods that might impact their nutrition. It could be about stressful meal times for a family, sensory sensitivities with regard to the food that they're eating or the environment in which they're eating in, and also bowel issues too. We
Yeah.
also have clients who have dysphagia,
Yeah.
and so sometimes they need a texture modified diet, which we support them with, or they might need a tube to meet their nutrition and hydration needs as well.
Wow. Lots of things that you guys do.
Yeah.
Amazing. Um, so, how did you get started in this space and what really inspired you to work in this space?
Yeah, well, I was just on the lookout for something new 7.5 years ago now. And this job advert popped up, and I thought it was a really exciting opportunity. At the time, NDIS was still in a trial phase here in WA, so we were still learning a lot about that, which, yeah, sounded really exciting to me as well. And I think the role it's just a really nice blend of like the clinical aspects of being a dietitian, with being more creative and practical in how we approach the nutritional issues that we're faced with. So yeah, it's a really nice blend of that. And I really like the idea of working closely with multidisciplinary teams to support clients to achieve their goals. Again, I thought it was just such a great opportunity to learn something different from working with other health professionals like OTs and speechies. I really thought it would add value to what we do as a dietitian and what we can offer. And I think that's definitely proved to be right. I am a much more transdisciplinary dietitian now and have certainly picked up approaches that I wouldn't have learned about if I hadn't have worked so closely with OTs, speechies, continence clinicians, behavior support practitioners. Like it's really invaluable to have that different perspective. And of course, then the idea of supporting people with a disability achieve their goals and reach their potential, and probably provide a dietetic service that they might not have ever had the opportunity to access without NDIS funding as well. So yeah, it's been really great.
Yeah, awesome. It sounds really exciting. So I guess jumping into our questions from there, can you tell me a little bit about the families and the what it's like to work with children and families that are neurodivergent?
Yeah, sure. Well, we always start with quite a comprehensive assessment in the beginning, just to find out a little bit more about the child that we're working with, that the families that we're working with as well, and get some background on that nutrition or mealtime goal and why that goal is so important to them. Um, and then from there, the assessment, so we assess their growth, past medical history, interest, what meal times look like, and what they're currently eating, their pattern, their eating pattern. And it also our assessment includes like a mealtime observation. And then once we've completed that assessment, we discuss that with the families and work out possible intervention strategies from there. So it really does depend on the assessment and the goal that the family set as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what are some of those goals that you support neurodiverse children and their families with when they're accessing your service?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of the families that we work with come to us with a goal around eating a wide a wider variety of foods. And I suppose the underlying reason for that is that they're concerned about their child's nutrition and how that will impact them in the future. So some of the goals that we support them with are improving that nutritional quality of the diet, and sometimes there are nutritional deficiencies that we have to work on. And we do that with consideration for their current preferred foods.
Mhm.
We also look at the sensory preferences of the foods that they choose and see if we can include some other foods that match their sensory preferences.
Yep.
And then there are some times where we do need to include supplementation,
Mhm.
and some of that looks like oral nutritional supplement drinks. And we obviously trial some of these with families just to make sure that they are preferred. Sometimes the children that we work with have concerns regarding their growth.
Mhm.
And if that's the case, then that is something that we work on. And there are numerous different strategies that we adopt depending on the child and the family in how we go about doing that. We have also supported some of the children that we work with in the mealtime environment. So we look at adapting that mealtime environment to suit their sensory preference as well, so that they can enjoy their mealtime and the foods that they are provided with. We work very closely with speech pathologists to support children who have any delays, like oral motor delays, that might impact the texture of the foods that they're choosing. So sometimes the speech pathologist will work on improving that delay and help them to eat a wider variety of textures. We work with OTs as well to support our neurodivergent children to use strategies to feel more regulated at mealtime, or it may be adapting some of the mealtime equipment or positioning that they use to help with that regulation and some of the skills that are required for meal times too. We're also really lucky here at Therapy Focus to have continence physiotherapists,
Yeah.
and we work quite closely with them in supporting a child's bowel health, and that generally is to support an overarching goal of toilet training. So yeah, we work closely with them to do that, to get a healthy stool first. Um, support families and children around mealtime routines and patterns that work for them. We sometimes support children to introduce new foods into their diet as well, if that is an important goal for them. And with eating strategies to support their interoceptive awareness, so their ability to feel hunger is often impacted, and sometimes we use different strategies to accommodate that as well. But mainly the goal must be relevant and meaningful to the family. So
Yeah.
really it does depend on the assessment that we do and what the goal is that they is important to them.
Yeah, amazing. And I think you've probably already answered a lot around the supports and strategies that you guys use. So
Yeah.
that's really great to hear a lot of all of that. Um, I guess, do you have any advice to some of our families? A lot of our families do ask about creating and supporting positive meal times and those sorts of things at home. Do you have any advice or tips for families around, I guess, creating that positive space for meal times? Because it can be really quite stressful for a lot of our families.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it can be such a stressful time for parents. From the very beginning, from the time your child was born, your role is to make sure that they are fed and well nourished. And, when that doesn't go to plan later on, then it can be such a stressful time for everyone. And making it a positive experience generally, like I've said before, kind of needs to be individualized to that family and that child. But some tips are, always just considering and making sure that there is a preferred food option available to your child. So that immediately makes them feel safe at the meal time, and making sure that that food is available in quantities that will help them to meet their needs at that meal time. Also considering about the environment and thinking about their sensory preferences. Is there anything that you can do to make that environment more pleasing to your child in terms of their sensory preferences? Also chatting with the OT on your team to see if there's any pre-mealtime regulation activities that you can do to support your child to tackle that mealtime, and particularly if they already find it stressful. And don't be afraid to reach out for support. If you are concerned about nutrition or growth, just start even by chatting to the GP and seeing if there's anything, if any of their findings can back up some of your concerns, and reaching out to your therapy team as well to see if there is any referral options that you can make.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that leads into my next question around, do you have any, I guess, advice or some thoughts around when maybe families should be kind of thinking about seeking some support from dietitians?
Yeah, so absolutely. If there is any concerns about growth, so if your child hasn't had any weight gain in a year, or they've lost weight, that it can be a concern. But do speak to your GP or child health nurse. They can support with looking at them on their growth charts and seeing if they can, if there is any concerns around how they are growing. Also, if there are concerns about their bowels. So I know that a lot of the families that we work with really struggle with toilet training, and that can be generally related to their health of the bowel as well. So if they have any concerns about that, it is good to refer to a dietitian. If they do have known nutrient deficiencies, and sometimes how we know this is through a blood test, which some of the kids we work with really do not tolerate, and that's okay. But if you do know there are nutritional deficiencies, that is important then to do a referral to a dietitian. If they're missing any food groups in the diet, so our 5 food groups is our grains, and we've got our dairy, our fruit, our veg, and then the protein food group, which is your meat, fish, chicken alternatives, that one. So if there's any of those food groups that are completely missing in their diet, then it's likely that they're not meeting their nutritional needs. Don't panic. There is things that we can do to support with meeting those needs. If they're eating less than 20 foods, that's probably another indication for a referral. If they've got food allergies or intolerances that are also making their diet even more restricted. And if they're currently working with another therapist on some mealtime goals, and would like a dietitian's perspective, I think that's a really great reason to refer as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Some really great advice to some of our families. I guess leading on from that, do you have any tips or strategies to help prepare families when they are thinking about going for a dietetic appointment?
Yeah, sure. I think initially, and you'll probably guess from everything I've said, is just to really consider what goal that they would like to have that support for, and why that goal is so important to them, how that would make achieving that goal, how that would make a difference in their lives. A recent height and weight for their child is really helpful, and also some growth history. So any old heights and weights that you have are really important. So a one-off weight and height just tells us about the size of their child, but we need to actually assess their growth. We need that background information too. Any copies of nutritional bloods that they might have done, any medications or supplements that they're taking is really helpful to know, and a list of foods that their child might eat if they think they might find that difficult to remember in the appointment. But yeah, they're probably some of the main things.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess just overall, do you have any final tips or advice that you'd like to give to our families?
Yeah, sure. I think the most important thing is that there is a lot of pressure on parents these days to make sure that their child eats healthy. And I put that in inverted commas because neurodivergent kids, healthy can look different. So just be kind to yourself, and seek support when needed. There's also, lots of different Instagram accounts out there on meal times and eating, and dietitians working in this space with neurodivergent people, and I just think it really helps validate some of that pressure that we put on ourselves as parents as well. So yeah, definitely just be kind to yourselves.
Absolutely. I think that's a great message. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today. I'm sure this was super valuable for all of our families.
Not a problem. It was a pleasure to chat with you, eh?
So thank you very much.